Hello, hello, hello. So, yes, today we're going to continue about our story about Carlos the Jackal. So, yes, freedom fighter, terrorist, dickhead, extraordinaire of escape and moving around, whatever you want to call him. I don't care. I'm just like trying to lay down the facts and to opinionate on them. So yes, obviously, if you're going to be this global terrorist, if you're going to hijack planes, if you're going to, like, especially if you're going to kidnap and hold hostage like a bunch of OPEC ministers, yeah, you're going to piss off a huge amount of people. And they will track you down because, quite frankly, you piss them off. Point two, you've broken the law, in multiple countries. So they will track you down. So today we're talking about the pursuit of Carlos. And while he wasn't easy to catch, like maybe that's where the word jackal comes from. Is a jackal easy? Those of you who have farms and stuff, is a jackal an easy animal to catch? I have no idea, but it seems like a jackal is kind of intelligent, and it's not as easy to catch them because, unless it's like an endangered species, if there's abundance of them, they may become a pest. And without alpha predators, what do you call those things, mountain lions or whatever, in South Africa's case, just lions, hyenas, leopards. Jackal is pretty low on the rung of predators. But because a lion is so dangerous, or a leopard, or a hyena, they're kept in national parks. But you may find jackals outside of the parks, and they may cause some damage to, I don't know, chickens or whatever. I'm not a jackal expert. The animal. I've seen videos of them, but I don't know a lot about them. Carlos the Jackal's ability to elude capture for more than 2 decades was a testament to his intelligence, resourcefulness, and the extensive network of support he cultivated. His escape from the justice system wasn't simply a product of luck or circumstance. It was a carefully constructed system of evasion that involved multiple countries, false identities, and a deep understanding of international law enforcement. Despite being one of the most wanted men in the world, Carlos managed to stay one step ahead of authorities, avoiding capture even as the global hunt for him intensified. Yeah, I think it started probably since he committed his first crime, but you had computers. I mean, computers comes from the Second World War, don't they? But you couldn't share data as easily, digital data with, let's say you're a French policeman, and you want to share information with a Saudi policeman and vice versa. How do you do that? You send mail, you call them on a telephone. I can't remember the last time I've used a landline. Jeez, I can't. It was years ago. In any case, this was back then. I think later we will get to that. Because, yeah, in the 80s, they started having a digital network, I believe. Definitely they had one, yeah, because I think actually that came from the late 70s. But I mean, only law enforcement had it, universities. It wasn't as widespread. The internet, by the way, do you know where the internet comes from? ARPANET. It was called ARPANET. It was a military. The universities in the US and the military started it. It was for the military, a way as, if there's a nuclear war, that they can still communicate with each other in the bunkers. And for the universities, it was just a way of sharing research papers. Why am I talking about this? Yeah, obviously with the internet, it's way easier to catch someone. In the 60s, you could basically do what you want. Early escapes and the role of safe havens. Yeah, safe haven is important if you're a criminal because now and then you do need to rest, right? Carlos's ability to avoid capture was rooted in his frequent relocation across multiple countries. His extensive network of political and militant allies, especially in the Middle East and Africa, provided him with the protection he needed to evade authorities. One of the key factors in Carlos's ability to evade capture early on was his reliance on safe havens in countries that were the script has put safe havens in. I didn't spend a lot of time on editing, and I didn't read scripts before, or else my production time will go up to Jesus Christ, 1 week. I don't have that time. Also, I don't like editing. I don't dislike editing. I like playing around with the editing software, but it takes time, and also it takes time to read a script. And I would rather just this is my hallmark. I read the script and I talk shit about it, either with knowledge I do not possess at all, or with knowledge I'm intimately familiar with. They put safe havens in brackets. I have no idea. No, sorry, not brackets, quotation marks. We all know what a safe haven is. Why did they do this? In countries that were either unwilling, now I understand it. In countries that were either unwilling or unable to cooperate with the Western intelligence agencies. Libya, it's obvious Libya was never going to help the West. Later on they did. When Libya, what was that shit, 9/11? Gaddafi knew when he was Libya part of the axis of evil. I can't recall what George Bush's speech but essentially Gaddafi was smart. You can say lots of shit about this guy, but he was smart and he realized look, this program of mine isn't advanced enough in any case to stop an invasion. I may as well get rid of it. And he did. And it paid off. He got all these freaking oil contracts from France, the UK, and Italy. In the end, they fucked him, but that's a different story. Libya was, during this time, the 70s and the 80s, Libya was the skunk of the world. Libya was one of the first countries to offer Carlos sanctuary. I met a Libyan once, super nice guy. He came to South Africa, as kind of a refugee, to get away from the civil war. Really cool dude. I enjoyed talking to him. We had lunch together at the house of a different friend. In the 70s and the 80s, Libya became a major hub for international terrorists, offering safe harbor, funding, and logistical support for various revolutionary movements, including the one of Carlos. The safe haven allowed Carlos to live freely in Tripoli, where he was protected by Gaddafi's regime, and had to plan further attacks without fear of extradition. I would really have loved to go to Libya before the war. Now I think it's super dangerous because I would look retarded if I go and I get caught by ISIS. Look, ISIS is like the Nazis. They don't give a flying fuck. If Al-Qaeda captures me, my government, South Africa, will still do something. We have a much easier time to convince Al-Qaeda to let me go because South Africa is neutral. That's what I really like about what the ANC did. I've said it multiple times. I'll say it for the rest of my life. The ANC made us neutral. We're a neutral country, and it's very convenient. I know we're part of the BRICS, and people think it's anti-Western. We're not anti-Western. If we were truly anti-Western, the AGOA trading partnership would have been cancelled by the US. Any trade relationship we would have had with the European Union would be cancelled. They're not being cancelled because we're a neutral country. However, ISIS don't give a shit. If I get caught by ISIS, like, if they don't kill me, like, because I'm not, like, a non-Muslim, they will definitely use me. They'll definitely, like, keep me locked away for years and years. So I can't go to Libya. It would have been super interesting. Syria was another country that served as a key refuge for Carlos. The Assad regime had long maintained ties with various revolutionary groups, and Carlos's links with Palestinian factions and anti-Israel militant movements ensured that he was granted asylum within Syria's borders. Syria's regional role in supporting these movements, as well as its willingness to shield radical figures, made it difficult for Western intelligence agencies to apprehend Carlos. Even though his operations were not always directly tied to Syria's geopolitical interests, the government offered him protection as a symbolic ally in the fight of Western influence. Yeah, symbolic allies are interesting and important. Like, it conveys a message to your supporters that you are doing God's work, or you are doing work for the cause, or whatever you want to call it. Carlos's ability to hide in these safe havens made it exceedingly difficult for authorities to catch him. The operation of these governments often rooted a shared anti-imperialist ideology, allowed Carlos to avoid detection by international law enforcement agencies. Yeah, so I'm not an expert in all history, but like, I think in the 70s and 80s, Libya and Syria was relatively powerful. You can't just, you can maybe bomb them from a distance using like missiles, but like, to fly over them to conduct a raid was risky. Like, you had to do it in such a way that, because they had Soviet weaponry, they had anti-radar systems, they had good intelligence networks, they had decent coast guards, they had decent border guards. You can't just waltz in and like cause a bunch of shit. Like, you have to be very good to penetrate these countries and stay hidden if you want to do operation. The role of false identities in global travel. One of the most effective tools of Carlos used to avoid capture was his use of multiple fake identities. As he traveled across borders, he would often adopt different names, nationalities, and personas to avoid detection. In many cases, Carlos would alter his appearance through plastic surgery or disguise himself in various ways to blend in with different communities. His ability to change his appearance and adopt new identities made it nearly impossible for authorities to track him through conventional means. Yeah, if I think about plastic surgery in this case, plastic surgery is so invasive. I'll never go, no matter how ugly I get, I'll never go for like plastic surgery. It just seems like there's too many shit that can go wrong. Like, I think about, like, what's that guy, Carrot Top, like that. Shame, that guy, like, basically destroyed his face. I don't know why. It's weird. Like, and what's that other guy, that criminal from Mexico? Was it Ricardo Fuentes? I think it was, his surname was Fuentes. Like, the Lord of the Skies, El Señor de los Cielos. He like went for plastic surgery and he died. I don't want to die having plastic surgery, no. But I guess Carlos thought it would be worth the while. Carlos's extensive knowledge of international borders and immigration systems allowed him to move freely between countries with minimal security. While many of his operations were well known, his ability to keep a low profile during his travels was critical to his in his evasion. He would often use a series of fake passports to cross borders, making it difficult for law enforcement agencies to connect the dots. His aliases were numerous, and his ability to manipulate bureaucratic systems helped him to avoid capture for years. In addition to the use of false identities, Carlos was highly skilled at securing new identities through illegal channels. He frequently utilized underground networks of forgers and criminals to acquire documents that would allow him to blend into new environments. These forgeries provided him with the means to escape detection even when he was under surveillance. Tracking Carlos, the intelligence agency's efforts. The pursuit of Carlos the Jackal became a global effort, drawing in numerous intelligence agencies from countries around the world. The hunt for Carlos was not just a matter of national security, but also a high-profile international case, with police and intelligence agencies in France, Germany, and other European countries joining forces to track him down. Yeah. If if there's an alliance forming against you, then you're in trouble. Like those of you who've watched Game of Thrones would know this intimately. If there's an alliance against you, when Napoleon started these nonsense. If there's a alliance against you, you've probably caused a lot of shit, and there's going to be a lot of coordination between your adversaries to take you down. The pursuit of... I said it already. The French in particular took a special interest in Carlos due to his involvement in the 1975 hijack of the OPEC ministers in Vienna, an attack that targeted French citizens. As a result, the French government was determined to bring Carlos to justice. The French intelligence services, along with other European agencies, launched several high-profile operations to capture Carlos, including surveillance, wiretapping, and coordination of local police forces in countries where he was suspected of hiding. The French... I want to go to France. I've never been there. It's I think it'll be an interesting country. I think there's more the countryside and the cities are more beautiful countries. It's just that the French as a nation fascinate me. It's this combination of Latin, Germanic, and Celtic peoples, and they're so different. My point is their intelligence service is quite good as well. Not as good as the MI6 or the CIA or what the Soviets had, or maybe even the Chinese. Maybe they were better than the Chinese at that time. Now China would obviously be one of the best, if not the best. But the French were very good. Despite these efforts, Carlos's ability to evade capture remained remarkable. One of the reasons for his success was the fact that intelligence agencies often lacked clear coordination. Different countries and agencies had varying levels of access to intelligence, and in some cases, national interests created obstacles to cooperation. For example, some countries that were sympathetic to Carlos's anti-imperialist ideology were less inclined to share intelligence or collaborate fully with Western authorities. In addition, Carlos's ability to move quickly between countries meant that law enforcement agencies were often left playing catch-up. His awareness of intelligence techniques and his use of clandestine networks and his sophisticated operations allowed him to remain one step ahead for years. You see, once you understand, we all watch the movies and TV series, right, of these burner phones and, whatever, all these things that spies do. Obviously the criminals are aware of, if you're a smart criminal, if you're not totally retarded, they know what how the police operate. And what do they call it? The upper police, like the special directorate. What do we call it in South Africa? Is it the Hawks? I think it's the Hawks. Like in South Africa, we have an organization called the Hawks. It's like the FBI. Like, if the Hawks are after you, like, okay, they're not as efficient because their freaking budget is hamstrung because of the stupidity of the ANC. But like, if the Hawks are after you, when they eventually get you, you're fucked. Like, basically, they go after these high cases and they bring you down. In any case, so you can imagine, like, the FBI is much better, and whatever the French had, or whatever the MI6. So if you know how these people operate, you're going to really know, then you're going to evade capture for a much longer time. The changing nature of the hunt, increased surveillance and pressure. That's a good idea. Like, if you basically, increase surveillance, the more resources you allocate, and like any project manager would know this, and the more resources you allocate to law enforcement or to a project, that's what I'm saying. Like, project managers would know it. Like, the quicker the thing gets done, and it's like, you've all seen Narcos and stuff like that. Like, the more money that goes into a hunt, the more personnel that goes into it, the more computer resources, logistics, what do you call it? Like, when people are combing through material, like analyzing existing intelligence or existing data, the noose will become tighter and tighter. In the 1990s, as Carlos's fame grew and his ability to operate diminished, you see, if you're famous, then you're like Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift, as powerful as she is as a celebrity, she can't go to Walmart. She can. No one's going to stop her, but no, she may be stopped. There will be this massive, like, crowd forming around wanting an autograph or a selfie these days, that she will be basically... I feel sorry for some celebrities sometimes, like, that they can't move around freely without being harassed. It's the biggest, like, downside of being a celebrity. Like, you're just being swamped by people. Even if you're broke, if you lost all your money, even like Jim Carrey, what he's doing, Sonic the Hedgehog now, because he's broke. That's what he said. He just came out and he said it. Like, even if he's broke, if Jim Carrey goes to a Walmart or just freaking a walk in the park, or even just freaking going to nature. Well, maybe in nature, the probability of finding someone is lower. But still, like, it's super annoying. You can't move around unless you put on some prosthetic disguise, which will be very uncomfortable during summer. You can't go out. You'll have to get your servants to go out, or a delivery company to bring whatever you want to your house. And Carlos, by this time, was a celebrity. New technologies such as satellite surveillance and growing international focus on counterterrorism made it harder for Carlos to maintain his invisibility. Yeah, satellite surveillance, radio triangulation, these things, like computers that can decode, like, ciphers. Once these things come into play, it's difficult. And I mean, even like Telegram. Like, Telegram is supposed to be this, or the dark web, we spoke about it in the last episode. Like, these things are supposed to be this infallible thing where you can't be found. They can find you. Like, if they really want to, they can find you. Like, the camera I'm using now, I mean, they can just like hack it if they want to. They can do anything they want. However, as the world's intelligence agencies tirelessly work to track him down, Carlos continued to evade capture by moving through more obscure countries. His ability to forge new relationships with anti-Western regimes meant that even as international cooperation increased, Carlos would still find countries where his presence went unnoticed. This ability to operate in politically unstable regions made him harder to capture. Yeah, you want to go like a politically unstable place is a good place to go. We had this goddamn, I almost say the word I can't say on YouTube. Really can't say on YouTube. Like this awful woman who we called her the White Widow in South Africa. She didn't commit a crime in South Africa, but she hid in South Africa for a very long time. And yeah, she was an ISIS terrorist, and she wore this white veil. That's why we called her the White Widow in the South African media. She was in South Africa for a while because, like, and that was not difficult. Like obtaining a false, like, South African ID document or passport, and when the freaking authorities eventually figured out after MI6 like told them what's going on, when they eventually, and there's this dangerous person in your country, capture her, you don't need to like extradite and just get this person. She's dangerous. Like eventually when the authorities figured out what's going on, she was in South Africa for like 2 years or a year. It was like a long time. Like she fled first to Kenya, and then crossed the border into, South Somalia, where, is it Boko Haram? No, Boko Haram is Nigeria. It's a affiliate of ISIS. What are they called? Well, ISIS of Somalia. Like, apparently now she's there. And they can't do anything to get her, like, because it's too dangerous, like she's hidden somewhere. The final capture, how Carlos was eventually apprehended. Carlos's reign as a fugitive came to an end in 1994, when he was finally captured in Sudan. 1994 for me is also always this like magical number, because that's when we became a democracy in South Africa. Useless trivia. The detail of his capture was not immediately made public, but it is believed that French intelligence services working with Sudanese authorities were involved in locating Carlos and apprehending him. The Sudanese government, which had previously been a safe haven for a number of international militants, ultimately turned Carlos over to France, where he had been wanted for years for his role in numerous terrorist attacks. Carlos's capture marked the end of a 20-year hunt that had stretched across continents. Once in French custody, Carlos was put on trial and for his involvement in a series of high-profile attacks, including the OPEC ministers and the 1975 shooting of French police officers. His capture was the culmination of years of international cooperation, intelligence sharing, and efforts to track him down. Despite his ability to evade capture for so long, the relentless pursuit for Carlos ultimately led to his downfall. Yeah, the Sudanese thing was very interesting. I watched it. I don't know if I remember it from 1994 or if I was 14 years old in 1994. So I can't recall if I remember it from that time or if I watched a documentary about it since. There's not a lot of stuff on the net about Carlos the Jackal. You have to like really look for it. But it's because he was so good. Like at hiding himself and changing identities. I just remember the French, there was like helicopters involved. He was like in some remote location and they had helicopters. They just swooped in. The guy didn't put up a fight or killed himself and he was captured. So it's interesting that the Sudanese. Well, Sudan is an interesting country. Like, unfortunately, now it's in war, but it was very close before it went into civil war. Now is very, very close to recognizing Israel. So, despite being so after Sudan used to be a like a South Saharan African country as well as a North African country until it split up. Now it's just a North African country. They really did a lot of work to rehabilitate themselves. Like in primary school, one of my friends, like his dad, primary school was even like, was just after 1994 or something, or before that. I can't recall, but like his dad went, my friend's dad went there, and he just like told me he got a lot of money there. Like his dad was an engineer or something, and so for a long time, because the Sudan was weird, but it wasn't dangerous anymore. Like Carlos could go there and hide for a long time, but like I think by that time, Sudan has been trying to normalize itself for a long time. Unfortunately, they had this resource curse of oil, which caused a lot of internal stability, still causing a lot of internal stability. So, like it is remarkable that Carlos evaded capture for this long. It's not a lot of people who can do that. Like, you see, it is once you get onto the radar of someone, they're going to start hunting you. And then it's just a question of, like, how well can you like survive this hunt? If you escape to something like North Korea and they grant you asylum, like, what's it, Edward Snowden who went to Russia, then you're safe, like indefinitely, probably indefinitely. Unless the US goes to North Korea or whatever. If the US gives like $100 billion to Russia, they will give them Edward Snowden, for example. It's not, there are conditions. But to hide for so long is just an amazing thing in general. Like the White Widow that I just spoke about. Like, no one knows where she is. And she's been evading capture for a long time. She's younger than me. She's like probably 35 or something by now, 40, and with children. So it's a mother with children. I don't want to say mother with children is like, a slow mover, but, moving around with children is more complicated because children are slow. And that's just amazing that she has like evaded capture for so long. It's the hallmarks of an intelligent person. Like a stupid person who just crossed, for example, in the US state boundaries and like think that they're safe. It's not how it works. Like, and still use their cell phone. Like, you had to do so many things, and hence this like popular media. In popular media, Carlos the Jackal is seen as this mysterious figure because he was a mysterious figure. They couldn't find him. Although, mysterious, as we spoke about his narcissism and his open like love for the media, essentially he wasn't like careful enough, and that's why he was captured. In any case, that's all for now. Thank you very much, and goodbye.